Ashtavakra, one of the great sages in the Indian folklore, was physically deformed. He had a rounded spine and he could not walk properly. So he entered King Janak's court because he had to talk to Bandi, who was one of the scholars who would often challenge into debate other learned scholars and other sages, and if they fail supposedly in the debate and they do not have further anything to speak, they would go into Mahasamadhi. They would sacrifice themselves in a water ritual, which is to drown themselves in the water. So Ashtavakra had gone there for his father, Sage Kahor, and as soon as he enters this particular court, everyone is laughing on him. So he says that, I thought that I'd be entering into the court of King Janak as heard, and that's what I had imagined. But now that I enter here, it seems like I've entered into a court of fools or something. He said like that, because you judge me by the body and not by my soul. And by the way, Ashtavakra had got into this court. He challenged Bandi and he even won the entire debate. There came a time that Bandi had to himself say that I give up and you win, Ashtavakra. And that is when sage Ashtavakra reveals that you had challenged my father in Kahor, but he went into Mahasamadhi. He sacrificed himself in the water because he could not win the argument. But I don't want you to do the same to yourself. I do not want you to sacrifice yourself into the water. And Bandi asks, why would you do that? Because that is almost like being kind to the other person. Because, and then Ashtavakra says that this is because forgiveness is something. I forgive you. And hence we have this thing that forgiveness is always very difficult when you cannot go beyond your objectifications of the mind. And forgiveness is actually one of the hardest things to do for humans. But in the Ashtavakra Gita, wherein all the learnings from the Indian folklore is there, from the Indian history is there, what all happened with Ashtavakra and how he came to inner freedom, and then he taught it to the other world. Because even when this debate happened, Ashtavakra was very young when he had won this debate upon a lot of things that was related to Atma Gyan, or the knowledge of the soul. Henceforth, he says that it is actually the mistake which is extremely it is actually forgiveness which is more difficult. I'm sorry, more than the mistake, it is actually the forgiveness which is more difficult. At times we even forgive the mistake, we forget the mistake, I'm sorry, but it is absolutely incredibly at times impossible to forgive. And here forgiveness is for the self, and here it is first for the self and then it is for others. Why forgiveness, you may ask? That is because the key to traveling light is forgiveness. And you cannot feel light and you cannot feel absolutely in your element until unless you have not forgiven yourself. But forgiving ourselves at times can be from a very biased place, because it's all about us. What about forgiving others? So these two things are actually quite interrelated. When you forgive the other person, the universe is always listening. Universe also forgives the part of you. And here the universe can be the internal consciousness, the internal stream of consciousness, or whatever it, because at times it can sound absolutely abstract and mind-boggling to someone as to what universe are you talking about. It's not as if the air around me has ears or something. So it is for those people. I explained you the analogy behind it. The internal stream of consciousness as well is universe. So forgiveness is absolutely essential when it comes to leading a good human life. Let us even forget these big buzzwords like spirituality, etc. And how is it that forgiveness of self and others are interlinked and interrelated? This is what I was talking to you about. It is interlinked and interrelated because nature, universe forgives a part of you when you forgive others. And this is sort of rising beyond the concepts of right and wrong and coming to a sense of evenness, or coming to a sense of fairness with life, because it enables you into acceptance of life. You can take any example from your life and relate it to this. For example, you were very upset with one of your exes, but later you realized that even I had done something terrible with the partner that I had before that partner. Okay, this is about romantic relationships. You can relate it into friendship. You can go ahead and take this concept to family, professional environment. Henceforth, forgiveness is the key to leading a life wherein you can be absolutely light. And you have to forgive others and you have to forgive yourself. It's not like forgiving the self is not very important. Forgiving others is more important. And it's not like forgiving others is not important, forgiving myself is important. It's actually all about the energies of righteousness and coming to a balance, coming to an even state in life. Henceforth, forgiveness is beyond duality as well. But I don't want to bring in this jargon. I didn't want to. Another way to understand what I just said, that this is beyond duality, can be that it is beyond what is right and wrong, because sometimes right and wrong is also only a perception in the grand big scheme and events of life. So I hope this made sense to you and you make use of this video.